Have you been trying to dig deeper about why you are still in pain, if you've got niggles, aches, pains, repetitive injuries, this kind of thing, you're still not able to quite understand why, but you do feel that there is something that you can't quite get to, then chances are that you are in what we call an unconscious response to stress. In other words, over time, your brain has learned how to literally respond to whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's repetitive movement or whether you've had an injury or an accident, and it's responded by tightening your muscles up. Now, one of the things that happens is that this becomes a learned pattern over time, which is why by the time you get to about your 40s, 50s, you start to notice this being more of a problem, even if you move a lot, right? You're exercising regularly. You know a lot about your body. You're very body aware. You can control certain movements. You've got a good idea of muscles, how they work. And you can also feel that within your own body, there are some limitations. There are some restrictions that you either have to work around, or you're always looking for the kind of the thing that's going to sort it. So if that's you, there are signs that will give you some more indication as to how and also whether you are stuck in this sort of involuntary muscular holding at the level of the nervous system. In other words, you don't have a direct connection to it. So one of the ways to understand this is to notice what happens when you are relaxing. So most of us, when we relax, we rest, we lie down, or we sit in front of the TV, whatever we do. And you'll experience that, there's certain muscles that are still tight. So you might, unconsciously just put your hand there, or you can kind of feel like, my back's tight today, or my leg hurts. But what I found is one of the main times where this would show up for me would be when I went to bed and could just never quite get comfortable. Changing pillows, getting different mattresses, trying to put the pillow in a particular place, like between the knees, this kind of thing, just to take the pressure off. All of these kind of workarounds just express the fact that there's an involuntary muscular tension that your brain just can't let go of. The other thing that happened to me a lot was muscle spasms, and not all the time, but from time to time I'd experience very strong spasms, usually in my quads, and sometimes in my hip, but usually my quads, or like a sensation down my leg. And again, this is just like where your brain's not quite able to fully let go when your nervous system is closing everything down for rest. So if you feel tense at rest, and if you're not sure if it's habitual, one of the things you can do is just notice what happens when you try and relax. So, for example, the jaw is a very common one. We all know, don't we, that we cue the jaw if we're teaching relaxation, or if we're experiencing it ourselves. We usually cue the jaw. Can you relax your jaw? Can you unhinge your jaw? And then, very soon we realize, I've been holding that all the time without realizing it. And the same goes for other areas of the body. So it's exactly the same in your back, for most of us, in our obliques and in our abdominal muscles, and all the internal, external rotators of the hip flexors. All of these muscles have some degree of holding going on. And so when it comes to relaxation, they're still on. And so the result is we're still using up a degree of energy for this contraction of muscles when we don't need them anymore. One thing you can do is, when you next lie down, is just to check in with yourself, and not just the obvious places like the jaw, but particularly where you feel tension in your own body, or you feel like you have problems, aches, pains, niggles. You could try just tightening the muscles a little bit, just going into that muscular tension, and then just try very slowly relaxing out of it, and just notice if you are able to fully let go of that tension, or whether there's still something more there that you can't quite get to. And sometimes it can take a few goes to go, oh, yeah, actually, I am still holding that, and I didn't realize. So finding the end of that release can be a useful way for you to actually connect to the fact there is still holding going on, and to actually start doing something to change it. The second thing that quite often happens when we're stuck in this way is that when we do move, exercise, we tend to just repeat what we already know, like it's a learned movement, even if it's supposed to be somatic, even if it's supposed to be done with awareness. You're just repeating old patterns, and you're not actually breaking the cycle of the movement. You're doing it on autopilot. And so we have to disrupt that somehow. Yeah, it's great to do strengthening exercises, for sure. It's great to do movements that feel really good. But unless they're actually challenging you to undo some of the tension that is being held, we call this sensory motor amnesia. It's literally an amnesia. Muscles have become stuck at the level of the brain in a particular pattern. So if you don't change the way that you move and actually try and sense this, then you're just going to keep repeating the same old, same old. So lift your arm. So if you go and lift your arm, you know how to lift your arm. So lift your arm, you lift your arm. You probably do that a lot in whatever exercises you do. But if you were to lift your arm, and rather than just raise it completely up, see what you feel in your rib cage. See what you feel on the way up in your shoulder blade. And just notice if you're actually breathing in a relaxed way as you do it. And you might find that the movement changes when you do that. Now, can you do that for every single movement? Well, yeah, you need to have a practice that allows you to do that allows you to start to notice what's happening on autopilot for you to be able to change it. If you want to change your movement, if you want to improve how you move it, and undo some of these restrictions and the aches and pains that come with it. So lastly, this idea of fixing a particular place in the body, like, oh, I've got a hip pain, or it's my lower back. You'll probably know that if you've had that issue, that it's now, oh yeah, there's something in my shoulder, or somewhere else, a knee or an ankle. There's usually more than one thing going on. You can usually point to a couple of things, even if it's not at the same time. And we get into this thing of like, oh, well, I must do some exercises for that shoulder, and I've been told that, if I do these exercises, that'll sort that out. We need to move beyond this idea of fixing a particular place in the body. If you are in that mindset and you are going down those rabbit holes over and over again, you can be sure that you have an involuntary holding of a full body pattern. So we can start to drop this, fixing of one place, and just move back to understanding about how the body works as a system, and how if we were to just allow ourselves to feel more, to slow down, we could start to notice these patterns that are there running. Now, you obviously need to be in a process for that to happen. If you are just being mindful as you move, yeah, that's great. But unless you're actually in a re-education process, then the chances are you're going to keep slipping back into these old habits. Because, if you've been active all of your life, you're in your 40s, 50s and beyond, then you've been doing this thing for a long time. You've been repeating this stuff for a long time. And so you need to be in a relearning and an unlearning process to establish new habits and to integrate them back into your movement so they become second nature, that you're actually self-regulating. Quite often we find workarounds. So you may have done this, you may have thought, I can overcome it, I just do this and that's what will make me feel better. But if you're in that dependency loop, like you can't feel better unless you do that thing, it means your nervous system is not self-regulating, and you are reliant on acting in a certain way to feel a certain way. So you can overcome this loop, and instead of feeling like you've got to, like, stretching the back is one thing. Oh, I just got to bring my knees up into my chest to release my back. That's such a common one. And in order to feel comfortable, that's what I have to do. That means you don't have the ability to relax your back at will. You don't have the connection to it. You don't have the ability to recognize I'm tightening my back and what to do to release it. And these things can be learned. And when you do learn them, you can actually change quite a lot about your movement, but also how you feel at rest and how you perform in your movement, how you perform in your exercise. And you can feel more relaxed, which is what we all want. So if you found that useful, please stick around, and I'll be talking more about these topics. But for now, just focus in on your movement. Start to get really curious about, well, am I doing this mindfully? Am I aware of what's happening in my body as I do these movements? Am I taking some time to think about this, or am I just doing everything on autopilot? And if you can at least be aware that you're doing that, then that's the first step. You can start to undo these habits by just getting curious and using somatic techniques to help you. All right, thanks for watching. I forgot to say, my name's Claudine, by the way. Welcome along if you're new to this channel. Thanks for watching this video, and if you like this, stick around and there'll be a few more like it. Bye for now.